Well, hello, everybody again. Feel free to come to your comfortable seat, unless you want to begin class lying down, right? Whatever is best for you. Feel free to use some props. Today, I'll take a pillow underneath my sitting bones, but if you want to use something else, you can. And if it's better for you to lay down on your back and start your practice, maybe you have a pillow under the head or a blanket over your body, you're welcome to start however you want to start class, okay? And we don't have to close our eyes just yet. Again, if you haven't met me before, my name is Lucianna. And throughout the time of class, if you ever have a question about one of the poses, you're more than welcome to type in the chat or unmute yourself and ask me the question. And we'll kind of work with it together as a group. Sometimes you may be in one of your stretches and you're far away from your camera, so just wave your hand at me and I'll unmute you for you, and then we could talk about it that way. So there's a bunch of ways to go about it, but please ask any questions if you have them, okay? And let's start to think about what our focus is for class today. And there's usually a few different focuses, right? If you ever listen to many of my Dharma talks, we have so many different sub-themes within the talks. It's like an essay, really. But what I want us to think about is the ability to suspend judgment. And I'm using the word suspend because within our yin class, as we're like feeling the gravity within the stretch, right? Our bodies are softening. And yes, we're letting go, but we're not completely falling apart, right? We're just suspending ourselves within the gravity or suspending ourselves within the stretch. So then energetically, can we practice suspending our judgments as we arrive into these poses? And whether this is your first yin class or your 100th, 1000th yin class, right? We never really know what to expect. So sometimes the stretches will be a little intense. Sometimes they'll feel really light. Sometimes your experience will change as you start to slowly release out of the poses and we take that pause, you know? So there's so much to experience within each of these little segments. Can we allow ourselves to practice suspending judgment throughout them? And if it's a skill that we can find within ourselves, we can practice suspending judgment, right? We can hopefully use this skill in other situations that we find ourselves within. And that's what I want us to work on today, okay? So from here, I invite you to close your eyes. Maybe you shift around within your seat a little bit. And then when you're ready to find stillness, you can let the eyes soften. And just see what you notice first. Do you notice the breath? Do you notice yourself sitting within the physical body? Maybe you notice that internal gaze behind the eyes. And as you continue to notice more and more, we will realize how we're starting to draw our senses inward. We're starting to arrive into our internal space. We will arrive into our internal environment. And as we arrive with a little more awareness, and as we arrive within a little more of our presence, maybe even right now we can begin to practice that suspension of judgment. And as we slowly continue to arrive, maybe we can start to soften into the body, relaxing through the jaw, relaxing through the shoulders, relaxing through the belly, the muscles of the glutes, and softening through the thighs and knees, even finding some space between the toes. And as we practice suspending this judgment, we can find ourselves enhancing our experience within the stretch. And as we enhance our experience, right, more and more is revealed. And so with that in mind, let's allow ourselves to find a cleansing breath. We'll inhale through the nose, and then open the lips to exhale. Again, like that. Deep breath in. Open the lips, deep breath out. One more time. Full inhale. And a deep exhale. And then as we come back to the natural breath, noticing the warmth accumulated within the belly, the chest, or the nostrils, the cheeks of the face. You're welcome to keep your hands relaxed where they are, or maybe you bring them into a prayer shape at heart center. Feel free to join me within the sound of Om, or you're welcome to listen. But together we'll take a deep breath in. Very gently, you'll bow your chin towards your chest, taking a moment to allow the vibrations to settle within the heart space, allowing them to reverberate off of the walls of the inner body, and allow them to seal your intentions for practice. So whenever you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. You can bring the hands away. As we come out of our seated position, we'll welcome ourselves back into our space. If you were laying back down, you can slowly come back to sit, just so that we can start talking about the first stretch. We're going to allow ourselves to start in a deer shape today, right? Or maybe you may know of it as 90-90. So facing forward, if I was sitting cross-legged, I'm going to ask for the left leg to come in front and that right knee to bend behind. Okay, but just to see it from the side, my left leg will come in front and my right knee will come back behind. Now, because we'll be sitting a lot into that left hip, it'll be helpful to take a blanket or a pillow to prop the tailbone as much as you need. Right? And then I'll take my other pillows here and my other blankets. Maybe I stack them up really high. Maybe I fold things to create some more height, right? Just be as creative as you'd like here. To find some support as you choose to fold. Okay, now a lot of our transitioning within the poses is very intuitive. And when I mean intuitive, it's just listening to that inner guidance, right? So for example, if your inner guidance wants you to have that straight spine right now, maybe there's a lot of sensation going on, just stay like this. Right? If you feel like you want to stretch a little more, if you have more space to stretch, you can start to walk your palms forward. Maybe your forearms come down. Maybe you create a little more height so that you can rest your forehead. Or maybe you go deeper. But the point of that is you can round as much as you want or not at all. Your back right knee could be as close to your front leg or as far away as you'd like. And that front left shin could be super close to the body. Or maybe you open it up a little bit, bringing it to the higher edge of your mat or just farther away from you against the floor. And then as you figure out the best place to start, you can close your eyes and come to stillness. not rushing to the deepest stretch the quickest. We'll want to gradually find more and more stretch. If at any point you feel like you're not stretching enough, or you may feel that you're stretching too much too quick, that will be a great indication to wave a hand and ask me something. But until then, let's continue to arrive. Let's allow ourselves to breathe into the sensations we feel. But understanding that these sensations are not the only thing to experience. Our entire body is here with us in the stretch. And if we're still clenching or gripping in some way, we're not honoring that suspension. In order for us to honor that suspension, we'll need to begin to soften. And as we soften, we can relax through the eyebrows, softening through the eyes, especially if you're squinting, allowing the cheeks within the face to relax, softening through the jaw and the tongue. Can you relax through the sides of the neck to allow the throat to open? Releasing through the shoulders, softening into the skin of the elbows. And your hands may be helping you in some way, but let there be space between the fingers, at least, softening through the palms. As we find a little more suspension, allow your chest and your diaphragm and your belly to release beneath you. Relax through the muscles of the glutes, if they're clenched. And as you soften through the thighs, relax into the skin back behind the knees. Opening through the calves, into the ankles. As you soften down into the arches of the feet. Releasing any burdens from the heels of the feet, from the balls of the feet. Finding space between the toes. Throughout this softening, can you find yourself being accompanied by some stretch or sensation? Through this softening, let's be accompanied by the breath. And let's be accompanied by that inner gaze behind the eyelids. Now you're more than welcome to stay in this deer stretch a little longer. But if you're choosing to release, we'll want to move slowly and mindfully. So can we begin to walk our hands down? We'll start to lift the head and chest up. Maybe your eyes are closed here. If not, just keep the gaze soft. And as you come back to sit, maybe your hands support behind you to unravel one leg and then the other leg. Okay. And just think of this as a little intuitive dance. Maybe your body forwards folds. Maybe your shins are going to cross and your arms are going to want to stretch up. Every time we release from a stretch, it's really free movement. So maybe your spine wants to twist. Maybe your spine wants to twist the other way. And then we come to that pause and rebound. Right? That pause and rebound, you can stay seated. Maybe you allow yourself to come to lay back down. Maybe you're in child's pose. Maybe you're on the belly. For this rebound, I'll take it on my spine. But as we center ourselves within this moment to pause, there's a few things that occur. One, the fascia from the stretch is contracting back to the joints, to the muscles and organs. Be patient. We can notice subtle sensations here. And as that is physically occurring, energetically, we can find ourselves in that presence of meditation to stop and smell the roses. What can we observe? What can we notice? What can we reflect upon from that previous experience? And if this rebound, if this pause wants you to stay here a little longer, you are welcome to stay. But if you're choosing to come into deer on the right side, we'll need to gradually, slowly come back to a seated shape. Sometimes even after rebound, the body wants a little movement, so you can take that little movement. And then we'll move into deer on the right. Okay, so coming to sit down, left shin in front of us, right knee behind us. Okay, no rush to get there. Again, you may want to take that pillow or blanket underneath your tailbone. I usually like to. From there, pillow or blanket, right? However many you want, in front of that shin to fold. And if your spine is going to stay a little more straightened, maybe you wrap your pillows or blankets over your belly and just walk your arms over that to help stay supported there. Okay. So feel free, if you have a question, let me know. Right shin in front of us, left knee behind us. Okay. Sitting in that 90-90 shape. Sometimes too, your back knee may need a little extra support, so you can always take a blanket there. You know, if your front ankle needs a little extra support, take a blanket there. We may all need to be propped differently, and that's fine. Sometimes the ways you'll use your props in the beginning of a stretch is good for you at those moments. And then as we spend more time here, you can maneuver the body, take props away, bring props back. So there's never this notion that we're stuck. We begin to close our eyes. Begin to settle into stillness. Breathing into this suspension. allowing gravity to help allow us to melt into the stretch. You may have sensations in one area more than the other. Sometimes you'll get sensations in certain places that surprise you. All of our bones and muscles and organs sit suspended within the netting of the fascia. And as that internally occurs, we practice it externally here in these yin poses. If you haven't softened into your stretch, begin to do so. As you soften and find yourself suspension or suspending, we'll allow ourselves to let go of unnecessary tension. We'll allow ourselves to release unnecessary control. This unnecessary clench or this unnecessary grip that hinders the body to suspend, to fall within itself. Not fully allowing the fascia to stretch because it's too busy gripping while something's trying to pull it apart. So check in with the breath here. Check in with your internal gaze behind the eyes. Now, if you'd like to stay in your deer shape a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. But within your own time, eyes closed, gaze soft, we'll very gently begin to walk ourselves up and out of the stretch. Maybe your hands come behind you as you slowly unravel, right? Be patient here. And the beautiful thing about this is there's no right or wrong. So if the body takes you into a forward fold, you allow it. Kind of like if you go swimming and you ride the ocean waves, you're just letting them take you. So maybe you find yourself in a tabletop. Maybe you shake the hips side to side. Maybe the body would take a few rounds of cat-cow. And then even from there, you can find that pause and rebound. Maybe you're in child's pose. Maybe this time you come up to sit. Or maybe you find your experience on the back or belly. But you'll close your eyes once you find your rebound pose. This pause allows us to connect to our internal space a little more deeply. So this rebound pause is not a break. This rebound pause allows our fascia and our nervous system to build memory. In the same way, we may repeat actions to create muscle memory. This pause and stillness helps us create that fascial memory. Let the tissues continue to open. Let any knots, scar tissue, let these areas begin to heal. Now, if you'd like to stay in your rebound shape a little longer, you're more than welcome to. If you're choosing to release from rebound, you'll slowly walk yourself back to sit. And again, maybe that engages some movement. If it's a twist, if it's a stretch of the arms, it doesn't even matter. We didn't even do much with the arms yet. But because that fascia is interconnected from head to toe, right? Other parts of the body will want to move too. Okay, but I won't go on that tangent, and let's move into the next stretch. So you have two options for this next stretch. I'll give you variations. Again, you may want to take a blanket to prop the tailbone. Your left leg is going to come straight out in front of you so that we support ourselves within the forward fold over the straight left leg. But your right knee can open out to the side, right? So if I were to come forward here, your right knee can open out to the side like a half butterfly shape. Or you'll have the option to turn that foot and knee inward. So from the side anyway, if you're going to take that inward rotation, it's called saddle for yin. So if you're going to do that, your toes can untuck, or your ankle and foot will turn out to the side. That just depends on your body, right? You'll do what's best for your body. But whether you're going to take that saddle variation or the butterfly variation, both are great. Feel free to choose what you want to do. And then again, where do you take your props here? I'm sitting at the edge of a blanket to support my tailbone. I'll make my stacked props over my shin, and I'll support my forearms as I forward fold. Maybe you bring things closer to your belly and on top of your thigh to help you forward fold that way. Or maybe you do something different. Right? So support yourself however you'd like. I'll talk about a few other little logistics here. If that left knee has a really tight bend into the knee because the hamstring's a little tight, you're always welcome to take a blanket and support that knee so that's not hanging in the air, and then slowly you'll find yourself relaxing onto it. Same thing goes for the other extreme. If you hyperextend the knee, I would still suggest supporting it with at least a thin layer of blanket. And then again, you'll go back to supporting yourself as you fold. Okay, so feel free to play around here. If you have any questions, let me know. Our left leg is straight. Right knee is either in that butterfly shape or saddle, depending on which rotation you want to explore. Our experience here is to be gradual. We're not looking for the deepest sensation the quickest. And because we want to practice suspending that judgment, regardless of what your brain is telling you to do, to engage that leg stretch. Right? Maybe our thinking is, oh, go deeper into that leg. But as we suspend that judgment, can we first notice what's going on with the spine and the neck? Maybe that deeper stretch feels good to the leg, but you may be forcing the neck, the shoulders, middle back, lower back into something it's not ready for. And if so, then just take that, be grateful for that guidance, and pull back a little bit. Even if that's less stretching for the lower body, we know that that upper back and neck, or even lower back and neck, whatever it may be, is receiving the proper stretch. And this is how we can practice suspending judgment as we soften into our pose. By listening to the body, we can give back. And as you allow yourself to soften through the skin, through the bones, through your muscles, and into the organs, can you find more depth of breath? Or maybe a little bit more ease to the breath. We may find ourselves sitting within a space of internal communication, whether it's in the thoughts in your mind, the feelings within your heart, maybe decoding what the sensations reveal to you here. And if you ever find yourself jumping headfirst into a stretch and surpassing that communication, ask yourself to come back a little bit. Check back in with that internal gaze. Listening to the guidance of the breath. Sitting within this space to listen and to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. Of course, you're welcome to stay here for a little longer. But if you're choosing to release, we'll want to move slowly and mindfully. So as we take our time to walk ourselves back up, noticing how sensation or release continues to happen even as we unravel. You can help that right leg release. And then again, what happens? Do you stay seated and to find some intuitive movement? Maybe you slowly come to lay down and hug the knees into the chest. Sometimes I like to suspend my legs even in the air and allow the knees to be buoyant a little bit. Maybe your arms want some movement instead, letting them stretch above you. And then, of course, within your own time, let's find this pause. Let's find our rebound here. And as we come into that space to observe and to reflect, you may notice a little more reclaimed space within the body. You may notice your presence here or your awareness. You may notice some sudden breaths that occur involuntarily within the body. A sudden breath like that really shows how the nervous system is resetting itself. So just take that moment to pause. Now you're more than welcome to stay here in your rebound a little longer. If you're choosing to release, maybe you start to awaken your body, take any little movements for yourself, and then we'll come back to that seated shape. And moving just enough to come into that half butterfly or half saddle shape. Right leg will now straighten. Left knee will either come in and out to the left side, or you'll allow yourself to rotate to sit outside of that left foot in some way. Both are great variations. You can even choose to spend some time a little bit in one of them, and then you can change and do the other one. Remember, if your knee is really tight and it doesn't fully straighten, take a blanket underneath it. If you tend to hyperextend the knee, still take a blanket. And then find any other variation for your props to support the head, chest, or belly. And especially when we do these poses that have a left and right side, as we suspend judgment, we have to honor that this side of the body may not be taking the stretch the same way. I know in yoga we tend to have that mindset of what we do on one side, we have to do the other. And that's fine. You can take that in your other practices. But in yin, we want to suspend from that constructive thinking. This side of the body may be tugging at the fascia a different way, based on past injuries or based on where we tend to overcompensate. So as we close our eyes and come into stillness, can we allow that inner awareness to step forward? Guiding you through that experience of the internal body as we stretch through the fascia here. The fascia that holds every single piece of us together. The fascia that helps us find our strength and also find our flexibility. The fascia that allows for blood and oxygen to flow throughout the body. The fascia that allows the endocrine system, our lymphatic system, the nervous system, the immune system, to all communicate with one another. And if we can find this intuitive communication with ourselves, all the other systems within us communicate better as well. Some of the knotted tissue that we're stretching with, or dehydrated tissue, or stagnant, these places that we label as blocked. We can think of it as when we're driving and we run into a detour. We'll eventually get to the destination, but there's a few little roadblocks or a few little detours to go around. So the knots within these tissues, that we like to call them, the knots tend to inhibit communication because there's roadblocks for these systems and cells to communicate within. So as we suspend our judgment here, we can find ourselves breathing into a place of understanding, open-mindedness, and open-heartedness. Now you're more than welcome to stay where you are. If you're choosing to release, please move slowly. Your eyes can be closed, your gaze can be soft, not looking at anything specific as you unravel. Maybe you take no little intuitive movements. Maybe your body brings you right to rebound. Or maybe there's a few things for the fascia to engage within. Right? After that time in stillness, sometimes the body wants to engage a little bit and move around. You can kind of think of it as intuitive dance. And then once you feel that you've taken all the movements, you're welcome to find that space to rebound on your back, on your belly, on your side body. Sometimes you're not even fully in a shape, you just find yourself sitting within your full presence. Not only is the nervous system slowing down, but it's returning to a more natural state. And as we pause here to build that fascial memory, we can think of it as a similar way to when a photographer captures a moment. That snapshot with the picture is capturing a still. And here within our rebound, right, we are capturing that experience. We're allowing it to absorb within us. And there's plenty of subtle sensation or space to observe within. You're more than welcome to stay in rebound a little longer. Or whenever you're ready, you can choose to come back to a seated shape. Okay. No rush. You can take any little movements along the way. Okay. No rush at all. Now I want us to do something for the upper body and I'm going to give us many options depending on the props that you have in your space. You may even have all of the props, but you could choose one of these variations, right? So you don't have to do everything, but let me give you the options. Or what I mean by that is you don't have to do it just because you have the prop. If you'd rather just come to the floor and use nothing, that's okay too. So option one is we're allowing ourselves again to lay down, but we're going to cactus the arms out to the side, right? So essentially what's happening is we're laying on our backs with the arms in that trident shape or at that cactus shape. Now, if you're laying on the floor and you do that immediately, that may be just enough stretch for you. Stay there, right? If you want to take a blanket, right, and fold it in a vertical fashion so that your spine is supported, but the arms are still folding off of something, you can do that. Or if you end up having two blocks, whether they're two cork or two soft or one cork and a soft, whatever, you're going to allow them to be stacked, right, in the same way that you would have used that blanket. But the thing with the blocks is it doesn't really matter where the blocks end up on your spine. You just want to make sure your head is supported. So sometimes it takes a few little tries. I got to scooch down a little bit, move your hair if your hair is long. And then once the head is there, right, my head is fully supported. It doesn't matter where this block ends up. It just depends on the length of your spine. I'm going to start with my knees bent, and you'll see my arms coming out to the side here. Right? My arms aren't fully touching the floor, and that's okay. Right? Maybe I take a blanket, whether you're on the blocks or a blanket or the floor. If your arms aren't on something and they're just hanging in midair, that's okay for maybe a few breaths, but then at least have some props near you so that you can support the arms as well. Okay? Now, I'll do it from this way, just so that you guys can see me from the opposite side of you, in case that's helpful. So again, as you come down, the arms are going to open out to the side. My right arm is a lot tighter today, so I would bring this arm down as I bring my left arm higher, right? So like I said before, you can honor the body as it feels. Everything does not have to be quote unquote even or being held in the same fashion. So honoring whatever side of the body needs. Okay? So whether you're using blocks, you're using blocks. Maybe you're using a blanket. Same idea as the blocks. Head is still supported. You're laying down onto the blanket. Spine is supported. Arms are going to come into that cactus shape. You can always bring your arms a little higher. Maybe your arms will go a little lower. And if you don't even want to use a blanket and you want to just come down onto the mat or to the floor itself, you can. Okay. I usually like to start with my knees bent and feet flat, but once you're ready for more sensation, you can just straighten the legs. Right? It really just depends on you. Like I said, all my right arm and my right armpit is a little tighter, so it was helpful for me to have the knees bent. You can straighten one leg or both legs. And as you keep the arms maybe in that cactus trident shape, right? Maybe you do that for a little while. And then you can start to open the elbows out more like a T shape and see how sensation changes for you there. Maybe you find one arm doing one thing and the other arm doing another thing. And the beauty within this yin is as we're stretching, you want to explore. Right? So that's why we want to suspend the judgment. Maybe your arms will be a little closer towards your hips. Maybe they're at the same level as your ears. Maybe they're higher above the head. Each level may change sensation. So whatever you find yourself playing around with, we'll allow the eyes to close in case they've opened. We'll allow ourselves to soften here. As we ease into this expansion by relaxing through the jaw, relaxing through the tongue, softening through the sides of the neck, allowing the throat to open. Relaxing through the collarbones so that the shoulders continue to release. And we'll let the chest expand above us as we soften in between the ribs. Releasing through the rest of the diaphragm and the skin of the belly. Softening into the low back as you relax the muscles of the glutes. Releasing through the outer and inner thighs. Allowing the backs of the knees to breathe. As you feel the release of the calves, relaxing down into the arches of the feet. Noticing how your body adapts, or maybe it's your mind adapting. Continue to let the breath stay present. So if you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're welcome to do so. But remember, we want to move slowly for the elastic of the fascia. So let's keep our arms where they are. If your legs are straightened, let's bend one knee and then we'll bend the other. If your arms are higher above the head, let's start to walk the arms down by the hips. You can even let the palms touch the floor. Even softening there for a moment. Now, I usually like to roll off my blocks or roll off my blanket or roll off the floor onto your side body. If you'd rather push yourself up to sit, you can, or just gently roll off. And there'll be a little bit of a height difference, and then you'll gradually come to the floor. Let yourself rest on your side body here. Your arms can be lined up so that you have a little pillow underneath the head. Knees can be slightly bent. At that point, if you'd like to reach back behind you, remove any blankets, remove any blocks, you can draw yourself back onto your spine, and maybe the knees come into the chest to rock a little side to side. Maybe it'll feel good to twist in the opposite direction and hang out on the other side body. Instead, you can always come up to sit and let yourself forward fold, move through the shoulders in some circles. And you definitely don't have to do all of these suggestions. They're just different ideas. In the same way, we can speak different words to strike emotion and to express thought. There's these different movements for the same thing. So allowing your body to move freely here. And then we'll come to that pause in rebound, wherever that may be, to take that moment of reflection. Noticing freshness within the breath. Maybe even noticing the way in which the body breathes, the mechanism behind the inhales and the exhales. Maybe we can sense this hum or buzz of awareness. As each fascial stretch allows these different areas of the body to recharge and revitalize. Okay, so if you'd like to stay in this rebound a little longer, you're welcome to. Or if you're ready, we're going to stick with another arm stretch as we come to our bellies to take open wing. And if you know of open wing, you're more than welcome to just roll right into it. But to get the visual, I'll take a pillow or a blanket to support my head. And I'm just going to walk myself down to my belly. So once I'm on my belly, I'm going to bring my left arm out to T so that I can roll into the shoulder, right? But I'm going to show you with my other arm so that I can look at the camera. My arm is going to come out to T, so we're going to do the left arm. And then as you roll into your shoulder, right, you can start with your knees into the chest as your right arm here is to support you. Now, if your hips are tight and the thighs are tight, you want to take a blanket there or pillow, prop it. Of course, if you want more sensation, you'll straighten your legs so that your right leg is on top here. If you want a little more, bend at that right knee. This allows the body to open. There may be more stretch in the spine or in the shoulder for you. But based on the rotation of your hip, it may be more comfortable to have that right foot in front of the left leg. And at that point, right hand can stay in front of the chest. Your right forearm can relax to the floor. Or maybe your right arm comes up and around the low back, takes a half bind. Allowing that left hand to relax naturally. So if the palm faces and touches the floor, great. Sometimes the palm will want to flip up towards the ceiling. That's okay too. And then as you find your shape here within the stretch, you'll close your eyes and come to stillness. Begin to soften into your pose if you haven't already. Honoring whatever stretches you feel. They may travel, they may shift, they may change. If you ever find yourself not experiencing the breath fluidly, that may be a sign that you're stretching too deeply, too quickly. So it's best to listen to the body, listen to the nervous system, listen to the breath, and then just change your variation. You can always try that one a little later. Continue to arrive to that internal gaze behind the eyes. You're welcome to look at something specific. Maybe your eyes just daydream as they stare out into that distant space. Within your own time, we'll slowly transition out of this shape. So let's keep the left arm where it is. If your right arm is bounded back behind you, you'll slowly guide it in front. If the legs are apart, you'll guide one leg back on top of the other. And then within your own time, you'll slowly roll on to the belly. No rush. As you roll onto the belly, it may feel good to kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees to side to side. You can keep your hands and arms as close or as far away as you'd like. Once the legs relax, some people will want to bring their forearms to the mat to lift into a sphinx shape, or maybe your palms will come to the mat to pull forward into low cobra, or maybe an up dog shape. And sometimes you'll guide yourself right back to the belly. Maybe that draws your hips back into a down dog or into a child's pose. But no better or worse, no right or wrong. Just taking that moment to pause. Allowing the fascia to contract back, the strong but stretchy elastic, right, contracts back to those places of stretch. Take that moment to observe, to reflect, or maybe even come back to focus if you felt a little distracted for whatever reason. And then within your own time, we'll move into the right side of open wing. This will be the last pose before taking Shavasana. So again, coming back down to the belly, right? You may have a pillow or a blanket to support your cheek, right? Especially if that's going to benefit your neck, have that pillow. Your right arm will open out to T, you'll roll into the shoulder. Right? And maybe you even find your own variation of legs here. You can take, if you can come into a shape with your legs, great. Any sort of shape. You may find the bottom leg bending a little bit as your top leg has the foot on the floor. That top leg could even just stay hanging out straight. Some people will bring that left leg upwards and let the knee relax onto the floor. Okay, so there's no right or wrong shape. If you can find that shape is supportive to you in your stretch, you honor it. If you know that you can hold this shape in stillness and arrive freely into the body, being able to breathe and to focus, then it's probably a great shape to begin with. You can keep that left palm in front of the chest or bring it up and around the low back to take a half bind. You may find yourself starting in one way and then transitioning into another shape later on. As you soften into your pose, and allow yourself to arrive more deeply into the many layers of the body, into the depth of your space. Feeling cradled by the fascia, as all our puzzle pieces are suspended within tissue. Feeling cradled and supported within your thoughts, within your ideas, within your questions, within your memories, whatever arrives into your practice here today. Checking in with your breath. Breathing as quietly or as deeply as you'd like. And then from here, within your own time, we'll slowly begin to unravel from open wing as we guide that left arm in front of us again. One leg will come back on top of the other. We'll gently roll onto the belly as we mindfully roll out of this right shoulder. Your arms can stay close and snuggled underneath the chest, or maybe they take up some space on the floor. Again, you're welcome to kick your feet up and windshield wiper the knees side to side. You're welcome to lift the chest any amount, to extend the spine if that feels good. And maybe you draw back to child's pose or tabletop, depending on what final movements you'd like to take. But then from there, we'll allow ourselves to prepare for Shavasana so that we can take our final rebound of class. As we allow ourselves to prep for Shavasana, you may want a few props around you or no props at all, so that is your choice. Maybe you have a blanket under the knees, a pillow under the head. Maybe you're going to take an entire blanket to cover your body. Again, if you are using that cream or essential oil, you'll gather that with you as well. And then we'll fully allow ourselves to lay down on the back or the side body, depending on how you want to take your Shavasana, right? So just making sure you're completely comfortable. You can take Shavasana however you'd like. And you can choose to rub your hands together, or maybe you find that a few drops of cream or a few drops of oil in the palms. And then at your own time, you'll rub your own hands together as well. So we're all creating a little heat. We're all creating some warmth and friction within the palms. And then as you turn your cheeks to the right, your left hand can just gently massage along the left side of the neck. Maybe your fingers move in a circular motion. And then as your cheeks turn to the left, your right hand can rub along the right side of your neck. Maybe all the way down to your collarbones or all the way along the jawline. If it feels good to take your index fingers and rub along the temples of your forehead. Maybe even take a deep breath of any sense around you from your palms. And of course, just giving yourself a little Shavasana assist so you can rub the hands anywhere along your body. And then from there, your arms and palms can relax. Your legs and feet can relax. And we'll feel fully comforted as we enter into our final stretch, or our final pose, as we welcome ourselves to Shavasana. Let's gently begin to deepen the breath, noticing the presence of your inhales and the release of your exhales. As you draw yourself back into the place of your body, coming back into the space of your room, and into the room we energetically share. Beginning to awaken the body with some movements to the hands and feet. Maybe you lift the arms up above the head to take a full body stretch. You can even bend the knees and windshield wiper them from side to side. If you'd like to awaken through the hips and torso. You have the option to bend the knees all the way into the chest so that you can wrap around the shins or the backs of the thighs. And then we'll intuitively roll to one side of the body. Maybe you choose to end your practice there, or you can gently push yourself down to come back up to a seated position. And if you're choosing to walk yourself back up, just take your time, no rush. You can choose to end your practice however you'd like, but then you'll close your eyes once you've found stillness. Taking a moment to reflect on your practice, noticing the natural lift of the spine, the freedoms to the breath, and the space and clarity in the mind. You're welcome to keep your hands relaxed where they are. You can bring them into a prayer shape at heart center. Listening or joining me for the sound of Om. As we close our class together, we'll take a deep breath in. Om. As you gently bow your chin towards your chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for coming. If you'd like to take any stretches or movements before getting up, any twists or things, you're more than welcome to do so. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm so happy everyone came to class tonight. I'm just scooching forward. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. I'll talk to you later. Here, let me unmute Kathy, Victoria. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. If you need anything,
back for another one. Thank you very much.
Awesome. You're welcome. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye.